Welcome to the Retreat Leaders Podcast, your sanctuary with retreat experts, where we spill the tea on retreat success. Here we dive into crafting transformational guest experiences, talk about how to avoid pitfalls, and unlock marketing secrets. Whether you're a seasoned guru or a budding enthusiast, we've got the inside scoop for you. Join us as we learn how to flourish in this magical world of retreats. Hi guys, welcome to the Retreat Leaders Podcast. I'm Shannon. I am so excited because I have an awesome guest for the show today. Welcome Debi Kinney to the show.
Hi everybody.
We're so excited that you are here. Will you just first start off by just telling us who you are and a little bit about you?
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm Debi Kinney. I am CEO of Hello Coaching. It is a goals coaching business. I focus on the areas of health and nutrition, fitness, business, and lifestyle. And lifestyle is really sort of what brought us together in terms of this podcast. But I do really dive in deep in those four areas.
Awesome. Well, I know one of the things that you mentioned in our communication that just really stood out to me was your Woo to Why workshop. Please tell us what that is.
Yes. So I have been accused once or twice in my, 48 years of life of being woo-woo. And I think that we've all been to, whether it's a meeting or event or a retreat, where we've been really inspired and in the moment and excited about all the content we're absorbing and the changes we're going to make. And then by the time the retreat ends and we get back to our home or our business, we kind of just go back to the same old routine, and all of that inspiration just sort of gets left at the retreat. And I've seen it time and time again as a goals coach. I see people get really inspired to lose weight or build muscle or go to the gym or get really organized in their life. And outside of that moment, it just disappears. So I created this experience. It's called From Woo to Why. And it connects the dots between being in that moment full of inspiration on site and bridging the gap to create meaningful action once the retreat or the event ends. And so there's some steps that I take. There's some key components that I use depending on, what the retreat or the event looks like, but there's some strategy behind what we do. Number one being we write down our goals while we're in the moment. You have a 42% more likelihood to succeed with your goals if you just write them down. I mean, set yourself up for success, right? And then we take some steps after that. But it's really important to connect. And that's what I really do in my day-to-day business as well, as I connect that inspiration and that really good intention that we all have with action.
Okay, I love it. And by the way, yes, when it comes to writing down goals, people think that that's so simple that they skip it, right?
Yeah.
It's no, that 42% is about the number that sounds right to me. I know there's some science out there, but it is, y'all, it may be simple, but it is literally one of the biggest things that you could do for your goals. So I love that That's part of your workshop. Tell me about the impact it has on attendees. Why do you think it's important to do this workshop or to incorporate something like this?
It's actually important for both the planners of the retreat as well as the attendees because it actually increases the return on investment. So the planners are happier because their attendees get more out of the experience, because when you bridge that intention with the action, the attendees are going to be raving about their experience at the retreat because it fostered all these changes. And then for the attendees to know that you invested your time and your energy and your money into whether it's, a few hours or a few days of an experience, and that you are able to take what you learned and actually apply it. It's the same thing like writing down your goals. It's so simple, but we all tend to skip the simple things because it sounds, too good to be true or too simple to be effective. And those are truly the things that actually work in life, I find, is the simpler, the better. And so for attendees, it's, putting your money where your mouth is, so to speak. It's really taking what you've learned and what you're inspired by and creating an action plan to integrate it into your life for whatever changes or adjustments that you are inspired to make from the retreat that you attended.
Hey, retreat leaders. Are your retreats the hidden gems of the travel world just waiting to be discovered? Well, it's time to shine a spotlight on them. Introducing the ultimate guide you've been waiting for, our free guide, Top 11 Tips for Building an Email List for you, the retreat leaders. Imagine an email list packed with eager attendees, hanging on to your every word and ready to book at the click of a button. We share the blueprint to creating a list that sells. Don't miss out on the action. Learn how to connect deeply with your audience, boost your bookings, and create a buzz that fills every retreat. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, these 11 tips are your secret weapon to success. Visit retreatleaderlistbuilding.com now to grab your free copy and start building an email list that sells out your retreats.
I love it. So it's a workshop that we're doing on site. And then is there any follow-up component to that? Because I think what I'm hearing and what I do see a lot is retreat leaders, they put together this incredible agenda, they execute a beautiful retreat. Hopefully they incorporate a workshop like you're talking about, which we can get into more detail on how maybe they can use your help for that. Yeah. But I mean, part of the missing piece is these people do go home and then that's it. It's done, right? And there's no follow through, there's no action, there's no nothing. And so it goes twofold. One, so the attendee doesn't get maybe as much of an impact as could be possible. And two, the retreat leader might not get return business from that attendee because they just forget about it. So tell me about what it would look like to continue the relationship.
Absolutely. So one of my superpowers, we'll call it, is accountability coaching. That's really when you break down goals coaching or health coaching or personal training, it really comes down to accountability. I mean, yes, there's a science to the different facets that I coach, but it comes down to the accountability piece. So as part of the From Woo to Why workshop, there is an option to upgrade and provide individual coaching. And depending on the retreat, we could do group coaching. If it's that style, we can explore that. But typically it's individual accountability coaching. And that can be, one time, 30 days later, that can be ongoing monthly. And so I'm very open and flexible to what that looks like, really depending on who the attendees are, the demographic, and what that retreat looks like. I think it's important to stay flexible and mirror what the retreat needs rather than just saying, well, these are my packages and this is all I offer. I like to kind of flow with what the vibe is for the retreat and what's going to make the most sense for the attendees. They'll get the most out of it that way.
Yes. Okay. I love that. Logistically, what does this look like? Does this look like you give your workshop and then there's an offer built into the workshop? Is it like on a document that you hand out? I know that I like to hear like the nitty gritty, and I know those listening are like, okay, but how do I actually position this continued accountability that one continues the accountability, but continues the learning, but also keeps you in contact and it sounds like it's additional revenue. So tell me what that looks like logistically.
Absolutely. So yes, I would come on site, I would present the workshop at the retreat, and then it either is a capsule in and of itself, or if the retreat planner wants to continue the accountability or to make the offer for individuals to purchase ongoing accountability individually, that's an option too. If, sometimes retreats are just getting started and they don't maybe have the budget at that point, but they want to offer. So again, I'm very flexible with how that looks and feels. So typically the workshop is delivered on site. We go through our planning process. We're writing down, I've got key components that we're looking at, questions. We're looking at, scientifically, we're looking at the stages of change model and the 3 facets of motivation. And we're plugging that in for everybody to figure out really where they need to be focused. And then follow-up would be typically, so I sit in Las Vegas, but I travel and I do this nationally and open it internationally. But follow-ups would typically be done via a Zoom appointment. And depending on if they were a one-time follow-up or ongoing, like, maybe once a month for 3 months or once every couple of months, we would determine the length of time, because a 30-minute follow-up one time is going to look a lot different than ongoing accountability, bi-monthly. And so we really design that based on attendee or retreat planner budget and also just the time frame that we're working with. I want to make sure that we're maximizing that impact. And so we can kind of go one of two directions, and I stay pretty flexible with how that looks. And then once I'm on site, we roll out those options. We would predetermine what that looks like for any particular retreat, and we would roll that out. And yes, there would be some documentation with some great, takeaway nuggets, and then instructions on what the follow-up would look like.
Awesome. Okay. Tell me what challenges you run into. Like, there's challenges in almost everything that we do to a certain degree. So what are some of the challenges that you might run into when executing a workshop like this, or the follow-up, or any aspect of it, or that you have run into?
I mean, typically the challenges are limiting beliefs. in terms of like the attendees of like, yeah, this all sounds great, but how is it going to really fit into my day-to-day life? Or how do I make these big changes? That's typically the biggest one is, self-sabotaging thoughts, behaviors, limiting beliefs. Accountability for the accountability is another challenge of, you signed up for these sessions and it's a great added value, but you're not showing up for the Zooms or you're trying to reschedule constantly. It's not as big of a priority now as it was on site. Those are typically the two biggest challenges because a lot of the work that I'm doing on site is while I'm speaking to a group, it's still very individualized and personalized because we're taking the big concepts and the big motivations and the big inspirations, but we're integrating that into individual plans and dreams and desires. So a lot of times because it is so customized, there's not a lot of challenge in and of like the content itself, but it typically comes down to, human nature.
I agree. I agree with that for all aspects, it seems, of whenever we're trying to implement change.
Yes.
You definitely have that. Sometimes it's a brick wall. Sometimes it's like a brick wall outlined in steel, outlined in I don't know what.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So yeah, I can definitely see that.
Hey, it's Shannon here. I'm just popping in really quickly to ask a big favor. Would you pause the show and go review it for us? Please. Reviews really help us to be able to get more guests and more experts on the show to help you transform your retreats. So if you wouldn't mind pausing and leaving us a review, that would mean everything. And if you're not already subscribed, do that too.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is that retreat leaders can hire you to come to their retreat to do this really cool workshop, and then their attendees can sign up for additional accountability with you. Do you ever also work with retreat leaders to help them design something similar so that they can then institute it? Like, tell me if you've got other ways that retreat leaders can work with you.
Absolutely. I haven't done that yet. Typically, they want me to come on site as the content matter expert. And by the way, this was created because I was that person. I was in corporate hospitality for 25 years before I started my coaching business 4 years ago. And I would go to these retreats and I didn't understand, or I wasn't able to, I was, the limiting beliefs, the self-sabotage. I couldn't connect the dot between the woo and the why. And I couldn't take that information and translate it when I got back. So, I have had personal experience with it. And so that's why I've really honed in on this area, because I know what happens on the other side of it and how magical it is. And so, yes, typically I am the one delivering the content. I'm coming in as the subject matter expert. I'm coming in as the new face and voice and all of that. If a retreat planner wanted to take some of that content and deliver it themselves, or do sort of like a workbook or something like that, I would be open to the discussion. But I do find that having kind of fresh energy, different energy, outside perspective is really where a lot of that transformation is able to occur. But I would be open to it. But that's pretty much how it's worked in the past, is I go in, deliver, and then we can do accountability follow-ups individually.
I love it. I'm a big believer as a retreat leader that you should have different voices coming in, whether, for instance, for mine, we do stress reduction, a lot of fun, but I bring in outside yoga instructors. I bring in outside sound bath practitioner. I'll bring in, all kinds of complementary, I guess we can call it, experts to come in. And one, I think it gives this like breadth of experience. It gives this multifaceted level of leadership that's coming in. And it's just a really well-rounded way for guests to experience different aspects of a retreat without it being the one leader doing all the things, which, by the way, that was me when I started.
Yeah.
I was even the chef, y'all. I was like the chef.
I love it.
All of it.
I love it. And that's how we learn. That's how we grow, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. When you crash and burn afterwards and realize that you wore way too many hats. And so I'm a big proponent of retreat leaders bringing in outside experts to add to the whole value of their retreat. It really is a big added value for their guests. And it builds in so many different layers too. It's a break in some ways for the retreat leader to go regroup and get their things together while they know that they're with a trusted expert. It's a way for them to learn. But overall, it's a huge added value for their guests, and having that different energy, even the whole thing, I think it's super awesome. So I love that. Any other tips or tricks or anything that you want to share with retreat leaders that you think would be helpful?
Well, I want to expand on that. And that sort of will answer this question is because I was in corporate hospitality and events and I did, weddings when I was much younger. So I have some social event experience as well. As a consultant, that's sort of a lens that I bring that's a little bit different than some of the other people who might be providing consultancies and workshops and coaching, is that I've got that corporate experience. I've got the corporate event planning experience. So for retreats, that's a very vital piece, is when you're looking at the flow of information and people and bodies. And that's something that I can also help to consult on and make sure that we are really maximizing that experience. But also in terms of bringing in outside experts, I just wanted to echo your point, because I think we've all had that moment where we've heard someone or multiple people say the same thing over and over. And whether it's, if you write down your goals, you'll be 42% more likely to succeed. You and I can say it till we're blue in the face, and someone new might come in and say it, and someone will have an aha moment from hearing the same thing from a different person. I've had that experience time and time again in various different trainings and certifications where I've heard it. And then someone else just says it differently or in a way that I'm hearing, or I'm really vibing with them and it sinks in. And that's just another reason why it's so important to bring in different perspectives, different energies, different individuals, is because you just never know what's going to resonate when and with who. And so having more voices and more experts to really draw from will only enhance the experience of your retreat.
Agreed, 100%. And sometimes it just has to do with a different energy, a different voice, a different whatever, different time and space. You know what I mean? Like, I love that so much. Yeah, I'm big proponent.
Hey guys, I'm popping in to ask a quick question. Are you ready to elevate your marketing game and fill those retreat slots faster than ever? Of course you are. That's why you're here. And we've got the toolkit for you. Our top 5 marketing tools for retreat leaders guide. This isn't just a guide. It's your marketing guru wrapped up in one easy-to-follow package. Dive into the essentials of social media marketing, where we show you how to leverage those platforms to create a community buzzing with excitement for your retreats. Also, unleash the power of content marketing with strategies that educate and engage your potential guests. Plus, we'll dive into email marketing, SEO, and partnership opportunities that open new doors and bring in streams of attendees. So why wait to make your retreats the talk of the town? Download your free guide today by visiting retreatmarketingtools.com and start transforming your retreat dreams into reality.
Awesome. Well, how can people get a hold of you if they want to work with you?
Absolutely. So I'm very excited. I'm launching my new website here in a few days. So my website is hellocoaching.info, and all of my social media handles, all of my services, everything will be on there. And for anyone that's watching this, I actually put my Instagram handle up under my name. It's at Coach Debi Kinney. And there's a lot of information on my Instagram, my Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, YouTube, all of those as well.
Awesome. And everything will be linked in the show notes as well. So if you are one that listens audibly, you just heard what she said about what website to go to and all that good stuff. But you can also check our show notes or just reach out to us, and we're happy to get you guys connected. So thank you so much, Debi, for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I hope to work with you and your audience soon. It's such a fun experience, and to witness the transformation I find to be just such an honor. So thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.
Thanks for listening to the Retreat Leaders Podcast. Learn more at www.theretreatranch.com. See you next time.